Céline Evans.
And I'm Chris Evans.
And this is Georgia Living Podcast. And welcome back. It's been a long time.
It has been a while. It feels like we've just been away.
I'm happy, though, because we really did get a little bit... Okay, so being a parent is a little bit of a double-edged sword, right? Because you get them for winter break, but they're here for 2.5 weeks, and then you just get cabin fever. You're like, I love these little gremlins, but they gotta go. They gotta go.
And they're gone.
And they're gone.
I'm so glad.
This is the second day that they're gone. And, of course, the second day has a field trip, so we're scrambling in the morning trying to get one of them's lunch put together last minute while we're walking out the door, right? So,
yeah.
There's still chaos. And
we're all going to buy lunch today. Great. As we're a minute out the door.
Yeah.
Oh, I have a field trip. I need lunch. Scramble. It's always fun.
Pretty much.
Before coffee, too. That was even before coffee.
But, we really accomplished a lot of stuff here because you didn't check my mic, right?
I can hear you.
You can? Okay, great.
Yeah, it's good.
I just wanted to make sure. I was zoning out when you were doing stuff around here, so...
That's why I have the handy-dandy headphones on.
Good. Well, what I was going to say is that, we have all of our Christmas decorations put away.
Yeah.
Our tree's gone, and everything's cleared. And I've gotten so much done over this break because in real estate, you are go, 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 and then winter break, that's the only break you get, really, when you own a brokerage. And I wanted to get so much stuff done. It's projects that I've been staring at. It's called UFOs, right? Unfinished objects.
Is that what it is? There's a thing for that?
Well, okay, so I quilt. So in the quilting world, you call it UFOs, unfinished objects. And a lot of people have a lot of UFOs. And that kind of happened to me with the home decor because really I'm incredibly economical. I won't buy anything unless it actually has a purpose. I think my Great Depression grandfather wore off on me.
Well, it didn't hurt. It didn't help that we graduated college in the middle of the Great Recession.
Yeah. We learned a lot of life skills there that way. So it kind of stuck. And we're very frugal on quite a bit of stuff. So I've been painting and I've Mod Podged around the house. Things that you wouldn't even think about. Like I painted my ceiling green in a...
As a semi-gloss.
Semi-gloss, that's what it's called,
yeah.
Semi-gloss. Yeah, and everyone at Sherwin-Williams was going, what are you doing? Your walls are already the same color green. I'm like, yeah, I just wanted a different color on the ceiling. And lo and behold, you love it, right?
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
So Céline has this incredible eye for design, and she's very talented when it comes to artwork. So whether it's quilting or canning or painting or creating a mural in our house, whatever she ends up doing, I always just say, don't ask my opinion because it's always wrong.
I always do ask for it.
And then she always says, I don't like that, and does whatever she wants anyway. But over the break, we've had this perpetual issue with our ceiling in the living room ever since we moved into the house. This room is finally finished. It's 6 years later.
It didn't help that we had a bust pipe and it leaked all over the ceiling, and then I had to live with the hole in the ceiling for 2 years.
Yeah, so older home, Cobb County, you've got hard water. Copper piping leads to pinhole leaks. Once you got one, you got a lot. So we ended up not fixing and patching the ceiling until we replumbed the entire upstairs, so we only had to do it once. That got replumbed, ceiling got refinished. Then now we finally got around to painting it, and Céline created. It's a very green room. It's a dark, very moody green.
It's not. It's along the lines of, remember the 90s trend of the hunter green?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that, but it's not. It's almost like a gem tone.
It's very gem tone.
Yeah.
It's definitely muted, but it's dark, and it's matte on the walls and semi-gloss on the ceiling. But not only that, then you went and did a hand-painted mural inspired by which train station was that?
Oh, Grand Central.
Grand
in New York,
Central
yes.
train station. So we have constellations on our ceiling in a metallic silver paint. And then you took these, like sparkly little buttons?
Like little rhinestones.
Yeah, and put them in the center of some of the large stars in the constellations. Mm-hmm. So when the lights are dimmed and a fire is going, you just see it's like the room comes to life.
It's like you're underneath the night sky.
Yeah, the light is dancing and reflecting off of the semi-gloss on the ceiling. Mm-hmm. It's reflecting off of some of the gemstones that you've put in there. And it's very warm, it's very moody, and it's just a great feeling when you get to hang out and come home now that we have a room that's complete in our house.
Can you believe how much of a difference it's made in just the mood?
No, I
coming
can't.
home? Because before you would come home and it would just be, okay, what do we have to do? And now
I just want to enjoy it.
When you have a space like that, you actually do want to come home and sit and then actually look at these things and have a cup of coffee and be in that environment.
Yeah.
Before, I didn't want anything to do with it. We had oversized furniture, which I didn't think was oversized at the time, but now that I think about it, it ate up the entire room, didn't it?
Yeah, so what you did there is... oversized furniture. We had a small Pottery Barn 3-person couch and a chair. So it wasn't like large or extravagant.
About the first iteration when we first moved in.
Yeah, we did have
a lot
a
of
giant
people have this problem because they move from one place to another, right? Yeah. And in real estate, you can't pick and choose everything, right? So you might have a living room that was much smaller than you were in before. Just the layout's different. So I could see that happening to a lot of people. I really do. And you don't want to get rid of it either because maybe it's a really comfy couch
or it's a hand-me-down
and it just doesn't fit and you try to make it fit but it's not going to.
It's not going to fit.
No. But so speaking of Christmas decorations, since we got rid of all of ours, there's a really cute story from Germany. You're hearing this for the first time.
I am.
So what do you think that they do with the unsold trees there? Some of them.
Well, I know what they do with the unsold trees here, and they become habitat, and they get mulched.
We covered that.
I don't know. What do they do?
So from select vendors, they take fresh, unsold trees, and they don't have chemicals or any leftover decorations or anything like that. And they feed it to the elephants at the Berlin Zoo. And there's this adorable photo of a happy, happy elephant that is munching down on this giant Christmas tree. Mostly elephants. There's some caribou or what is this, reindeer?
So elephants eat Christmas trees?
Reindeer eat Christmas trees. Did you know that?
No, I
look
didn't.
At this photo. Reindeer.
No kidding.
Oh no.
Oh yeah.
Oh no.
Yum yum.
Giraffes are eating it, and it's a really cute way to recycle trees. I mean, I think a lot of people would come to see this at Atlanta Zoo.
Probably.
If we had that, right?
Well, we don't have reindeer.
Not in our zoo. No.
A little too far south for them.
No, but we have some giraffe, and it's a zoo.
That is fascinating.
Yes, we have a sun bear. We have I just went there maybe a few months ago. Sun bears are there. They have tigers. They do not have pandas anymore. They just left.
Oh, yep. That was all over the news.
I know. I made a joke about it too. It's like Ling Ling and something, and I told you that Yum Yum is missing. The panda.
Yeah. Yum.
Okay, that wasn't a great joke. There is no panda named Yum Yum. I promise.
Funny.
I promise. Okay, and also in China, they have a polar plunge for health and joy.
Yeah, that's common around the new year.
I don't see a lot of people around this picture though. My favorite story, and I think a lot of people. Oh wait, there are two of them. So. We're still on the theme of Christmas. You know how the White House has the turkey tradition.
Yeah.
Where we pardon them. There's like this ungodly large turkey that is around the White House, and that thing that I don't
presidential
like on
pardon
them.
every year. And
Okay, I'm a veterinarian and I should know this part of the body, but I don't. I think it's called the wattle. But the thing that
yeah, I think that's a wattle or a beard. On a Jake, it's a beard.
beard, so gross. That is the part that grosses me out the most.
Yeah, it's a wattle.
Wattle. Okay. Anyways, so Miami-Dade County, very, very close to Cuba. The mayor, Daniela Levine Cava, actually pardons pigs for their Cuban sandwiches.
Nice.
Right? I mean, that's genius marketing there too. They have a whole ceremony and everything, and they get together with restaurateurs. And it started off as a joke, apparently, but now they don't want to stop because they don't really eat turkey in Miami. They eat the pork, so that's very timely. My favorite story, going back to that, though, is this one. It is happening in Oregon, and I've seen some people do this, but this time it's going viral. Mysterious googly eyes are appearing on public art.
Oh, I've seen
Oregon.
it when that happens, and that is my favorite.
Yes. So, city of Bend, Oregon, they have giant googly eyes placed on this sphere that's on top of some sort of slab. So it just looks like this malt ball with two eyes. There's also...
It looks like one of the characters from, what's that Japanese movie with the little soot?
Oh, Spirited Away.
Yeah.
Yes.
Looks like those little soot characters.
They're two deer here with giant eyes that are just maybe 2/3 the size of their face.
You have to send me the links. We'll put that in the show notes on selectrealty.com.
Yes, absolutely. And really, they did have a close-up of these photos, and they really didn't do much damage, just taped on there, so it's not going to hurt these outdoor structures. But somebody was really having a really good time with the winter break.
The heroes that we need. This is the kind of stuff that we need for news, especially
Bring a smile, right?
The world always feels like it's half about to fall apart and half everything's great. So we need more heroes like that, making light of some fun art.
So we've talked about Christmas. We've talked about, putting away the stuff. But our family being half Japanese, we have another tradition that we have right after Christmas, and that's New Year's. A lot of places do that. I know Chinese people have Lunar New Year's, but a lot of the countries around the world celebrate New Year's as one of the most important holidays in our calendar year. And this was the first time that our kids stayed up until midnight, wasn't it? All three of them.
And,
yeah.
We got the little sparkling grape juice for them from Welch's. And it was a little hard to find that stuff, but they loved it. And funny enough, it's not just sparkling cider now. They actually have rosé flavored grape sparkling juice around New Year's. So the girls were just all up in arms like, I'm drinking rosé. They had the most fun time with it.
But they went a little overboard in saying that they were drinking rosé, and I said, no, honey, we don't say that at school because this is grape juice rosé. It's not real rosé. So please don't go to public school and say that we gave you rosé.
Oh yeah, just waiting for the letters to come home from the teachers on that one.
Yeah, please don't. Let's prevent these things.
It's fine.
We get to eat some really great food. It's osechi ryori, which is New Year's food, and it comes in a jubako, which is this beautiful square box that's lacquered, and it has a whole bunch of items in it, like we had kamaboko in there, red and white. Red and white celebrates. It's very festive.
Like other cultures, everything that you eat has a meaning on New Year's.
Like black-eyed peas, right? Yeah. I mean, for money, the coins, and then you've got the lettuce, the kale, the greens.
Noodles for long life.
Yes.
All sorts of stuff in there.
Yes, my mother force feeds me noodles because she says you're going to have a long life. And I said, okay, sure. Every year, I'm eating
Japanese
noodles.
problems. So we ended up having a great time. We got away to LJ for a little bit. Cloudy New Year's, but we got a beautiful sunrise and a beautiful sunset for New Year's Eve and New Year's Day in backwards order. You're welcome if you're following along on the podcast.
We went through that giant storm.
It was a huge storm. As a matter of fact, we've got a piece of trim that came off of our house up by the chimney with that. So
it was the width of the entire state of Georgia that passed through us.
Yeah, that was a big front.
Yes.
So make sure if you haven't already, go out and take a look at your house and just note any new damage. If you're a renter, tell your landlord about it. And if you're a homeowner, just go ahead and start budgeting for more repairs because it's always fun to be a homeowner, isn't it, Céline?
But you should always be walking around your property and looking at your house and making sure that nothing's falling off because it can slip by.
It definitely can. So before we're going to talk today a little bit about what happened in the real estate market in 2024. But before we get there, I want to talk about, Céline, what are some of your favorite holiday recipes or crafts or fun things to do around the holidays? Because we just wrapped it up. And, are there any traditions that you love for the start of the new year?
Start of the new year. Well, other than the Japanese stuff, and cleaning up after that is also all put away. It's wonderful. I like the mundane things. And that's because I have the kids at home. You can't go out and, do, not that there's a fair or anything, but entertain them the entire time.
Oh, yeah.
You've got to do other things too, right? But new year, new refresh kind of ideas, right? Mm-hmm. I know that a lot of people do spring cleaning, but I do winter break cleaning as well. And I toss a whole bunch of stuff out. This year we were a little bit busy with the painting and trying to get those things fixed up. But I do a lot of cleaning because I don't like to go and come back to a house that's dirty. I don't like to start something new with a mess that's left over from before. Kind of like a new start, new you kind of thing every time. So yeah, pretty mundane, but it really makes me sane.
I agree.
Yeah.
What we after Christmas, which we celebrated at home here in Marietta, we got a couple of days, and then we went up to our family's house in LJ, which is on top of a mountain. It's just our little retreat. We do our just a way to get back to being centered and kind of grounded. So we didn't do anything on the 26th, but the 27th, that was our pack away day. And fortunately, most of our Christmas decor, it all just goes into bins, and then the tree gets recycled. We did it at the Home Depot, which is still, I think, doing recycling, or that just may have stopped. But the whole process of getting everything put away, at least to me, close to the holiday, not waiting until the new year, it allows me to come into the new year feeling fresh and clean and not having to carry the baggage from 24 into 25. Plus, whenever we're traveling, the last thing we want to do is come home to a house that needs work.
Something that's really helped us is we've transitioned from paper wrapping to cloth wrapping. And if you have a serger, if you're a little bit handy, you can do this at home. If not, you might want to just buy stuff. But any leftover fabric, it doesn't matter what shape it is or what size. You just serge around the sides and then you use that to wrap. And we've reused that 4 years now in a row, right? 4, 3? This is year 4?
Year 3 or 4.
Year 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And the kids they don't see any difference.
No,
and I do in the cleanup. It's amazing.
It works really well. Every year we ship the fabric back up to Santa Claus so that he can reuse it for the next year because we want to be eco-friendly. But really, it makes a lot less time. You just put a little gift inside, you tie it, all the corners together, you stick a little label on it and call it a day.
And then cleaning up after that, you take the label off and then you fold it up and then you
Put
store
it in a
again.
box for next year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't think that was going to work out that well, but I think we're going to keep that tradition.
Even I was able to wrap gifts this year and get it all taken care of. I did all the wrapping this year, and if it wasn't for the fabric, it would not have looked great at all. So I think all of us have that difficulty transitioning from holiday mode to everyday life.
It's jarring.
Oh, it's so much.
It's like you're sleeping 11 hours and then all of a sudden, bam, you're right back to it.
Yep. Especially, with the start of the year, you've got a lot of tasks that you have to do to start the year right. Especially as a business owner, you've got to go through and get all your tax stuff and your year-end financials.
Everything renews at this time,
Everything renews.
Yes.
January is not an inexpensive month.
No.
Especially coming right off the heels of the holiday.
If you're a business owner, no, it is. Everything is due today.
Yep.
Yeah.
And, if you're a new homeowner, you also have some tasks that you've got to do because it's the start of the new year. So if you bought a house in 2024, you need to go through and file your homestead exemption if that's your primary residence, and make sure that for this year's tax basis, you're getting the right exemptions that you need. So just for everybody listening, if you bought a house in 2024, go to your county's tax website, or go into Google and search homestead exemption, my county. You go to cobbcounty.org and it's going to be in there. There's a form that you fill out. There's different exemptions. There's exemptions for being a veteran. There's exemptions for your age. If you're a senior citizen, you get more tax breaks as well. If you're a homeowner, you get the homestead exemption, which locks in one of the tranches on your millage rate.
So hold on.
And it just saves you money over time.
You're getting really technical here. So for people who may not own a house yet, or if they're very, very brand new to this.
Yep.
What exactly is a homestead exemption, and why do you need to claim something like that?
That's a very good question. So if you own a house as an investor, right? You're Wall Street, you come in, you buy a house, and you rent that property out. Well, you don't get any breaks or any kind of incentives for owning that house as an investment property. The county charges you the maximum that they can charge you because you're making money off of that property. It's not your primary residence. It's not your house. When it is your house
that you live in
that
every
you
day.
live in at least 51% of the year, and it's where you receive mail. It's where all your bills go. That is not an income producing property. It's used for a different purpose. And a homestead exemption is one that says, if this is your primary residence, we're going to give you a break on your taxes. So in Cobb County, we have 3 different tranches for how your property taxes work. One goes to school. That's about a third. Another third goes to emergency services. This is your fire and EMS, not police in Cobb County. Then the third is your general fund. The general fund pays for your county commissioners, the salaries for all the employees of the county, all their programs, and then it also pays for your police in Cobb County. This varies county by county. So when you get a homestead exemption, it locks in the rate for your general fund. So your school board fund and your emergency fund, that can vary. The price and the value of your home can vary, but the amount that you're assessed stays locked in for as long as you own that home. So you get a break in your taxes over a property where you didn't. An example of this, our property tax on our primary residence is about $3,500 a year, and on an closely equivalent value rental property, it's about $4,700 a year. So it ends up being a substantial savings when you compound that year over year over year. But when you buy the house, you have to tell the county that this is your primary residence. So before the end of March, I believe the deadline is March 31st, but don't quote me on that. We'll put it in the show notes. We'll also include a link to the Cobb County tax website where you can go to update your homestead exemption. You have to turn in that paperwork because when the tax assessor goes out later in the year, they're going to assess you based off of how that form is filled out.
And they're not going to come after you and say, hey, did you fill it out?
No, this is your responsibility. They will gladly charge you more. As with anything in our capitalist society, you're responsible to make sure that you're not paying too much.
Right.
Ooh, it is cold out this morning.
This is the one room that is very, very warm, and I'm so content in this.
It's on the back side of the building, so we get all the sun in the morning.
This morning, I fell asleep on our wingback chair with my coffee cup in my hand.
Surprised you didn't spill it.
I had it all. And then even after I drank the entire thing, I was still snoozing with it in my hand, still holding it.
Well,
it was that cold because I was wearing so many jackets indoors.
we live in an old house. It can be drafty at times, but it has so much character. And speaking of character, one of the things that we love starting out every year is our community events. So right now, Cobb County still has Christmas tree recycling going on. This is going to... When does this end? Never mind. It just ended. It just ended, so we're not going to talk about that.
Womp womp.
Womp womp. We do have Martin Luther King Day coming up this month, so there will be lots to celebrate here in Marietta.
And okay, this is national, but it's also local because you know who died? Jimmy Carter.
Yeah, Jimmy Carter just passed away.
Yeah, his funeral is in 2 days, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
There's that, too. I mean, he's lying in repose at the Jimmy Carter Center, and I think that he's gone now. I think they sent him up to Washington, D.C.
Yeah, he's making his final parade.
Yes, and then, but I think, is the funeral in D.C. or is it in Atlanta?
The funeral is in Atlanta. It's if I remember what I heard on the news, it's going to be in Plains, Georgia.
Okay.
But with far as Martin Luther King Day coming up, we will have a parade that's going to be on January. Oh, they didn't update this. That's the 2024.
So you have the funeral first, and then you have MLK Day shortly after that.
Yep. And for MLK Day for 2025, there will be an annual celebration. This is going to be put on by the Cobb County branch of the NAACP with the Cobb County government. And this will be on Martin Luther King Day, which is Monday the 20th, from 10 to noon at the Jenny T. Anderson Theater, which is 548 South Marietta Parkway. This is free, and for more information, you can reach out to the Cobb County NAACP at 770-425-5757. In years past, they've had an MLK Day parade. I don't see anything for plans for this year right now, but we'll keep you updated if we find out more. 2020, let's see.
For those of you who are new to Atlanta, we do have an MLK Center as well, and he is there with Coretta, his wife, and you can go visit himself there.
Yes, you can.
Yes.
Now, this kind of ties into the theme of the house because...
Our house?
Yes, because Céline has been putting in a lot of little local Easter eggs throughout our house, right? So our stairway, the platform on the landing right now is currently being redesigned to look like you're in a train station for, what was it, the Western and Atlantic?
It's the Western and Atlantic Railroad, and this is the entire reason why Atlanta exists. It's called Terminus because the very end of this railroad is actually Atlanta, and it goes all the way up to Chattanooga. But the reason why I chose to put this in our house is because we live very, very close to Big Shanty. We used to. First house was in Ackworth when we had our child.
Yeah, right off of Wade
first
Green.
Child, yeah. Right off of Wade Green. And I would take him to the Southern Museum, and he would have, just a ball playing around with all the trains. And he was an only child at the time. He was maybe 1 or 2, just adoring everything.
Oh, basically from 0 to 4, he was there, at least 8 or 10 times a year.
They had like Mommy and Me stuff and everything. So I had a lot of memories there. And we're not very far from Big Shanty. And so Big Shanty is famous. It's now called Kennesaw. And I think a lot of people know Kennesaw more than Big Shanty now. But during the 1800s, around 1852, 1860, or 1862, I want to say, 60s, they had a lot of problems because we had a nation that was going to war, right? The 60s, 1860s, Civil War. So the General is the star attraction at this museum. It is a W&A railroad locomotive engine, and it's beautiful. It's one of those steam locomotives that you would think the Night Before Christmas, those types of trains. The Polar Express.
Yeah.
Gorgeous, like train set ones. That was stolen by Union forces. And it's this story about how the Confederates chased them. The General was called the Texas, I believe, right?
Well, I don't remember.
There were two.
Don't bring me in it. I'm no historian.
I should have looked this up. But those are specifics. Anyways, they chased the locomotive up, and they were trying to go all the way up towards Resaca. But eventually they were caught and hanged, the people who stole the train.
Yeah.
But there was another one that was involved, and that one's actually displayed at Cyclorama, if you didn't know that.
Yes, I did.
Yes,
so
there are 2 trains.
So you're using a lot of this local history and tying it into the house. We have there was Glover Train Works, what used to be a train manufacturer. We've got an old catalog from them that you've kind of Mod Podged into art. We have some train inspired coat racks, but
the ceiling is Grand Central Station.
Exactly. So we're loving the train theme to our house, and this month we actually get to celebrate because the Southern Museum of Locomotive Heritage or History, Southern Museum of Locomotive History, is doing their Trains event.
We've gone to this one before.
Yeah, so they're still doing this. It's an annual event, and this is one that it features train crafts, operating model trains, tips and techniques for building a home layout. The event will also include interactive activities, an activity center, railroad music, and vendors selling a variety of train-related items. So if you ever wanted to get one of those big wooden train whistles, this is a great place to go to get it. I think we still have some of those laying around the house from years back.
No, we don't, because I threw them away.
But this is
if you're a mom, you'll know.
This will take place from 9:30 to 5 p.m. on Saturday, January 25th, and Sunday, January 26th. The admission is $10 for adults, $8 for seniors, $5 for children. 3 to 17, and $5 for active duty military, $5 for students, free for 2 and under. Also, free for members. This Southern Museum is part of the Smithsonian network, so if you're a member, you can get in for free. This is located at 2829 Cherokee Street in downtown Kennesaw. Parking is available at Swift Cantrell Park with a free shuttle service.
Okay, so I have another tidbit of local history here for you.
Okay.
So the Southern Museum sits really right next to the tracks. And back then, when you had to stop a whole bunch of places, you would get off and you would go and eat at maybe the local hotel or a place where they provided some dining. So the place where these people were hiding out that stole the General was at the Lacey Hotel. And when you think of hotel nowadays, you think of those kind of big buildings with the elevators and everything.
Yeah.
No, these looked like
little bed and breakfasts.
Yeah, like a bread and breakfast, or maybe a little bit of a larger home. But that site is actually right next to the Southern Museum. And there's a plaque there that says the Lacey Hotel. So check it out if you're in downtown Kennesaw.
Absolutely. All right, so let's shift gears and get into our real estate conversation, because I think a lot of people have been frustrated.
They've been waiting for a long time.
And impatiently waiting for something to change over the last 2 years.
Right. So first
in this real estate market.
I've been hearing the election, and then it was rates drop, and then what other excuses did people say?
So, I mean, this has gone back really till the pandemic, because in the pandemic, when everything got crazy, people started saying, well, I'm going to wait for everything to settle down and for there to be more inventory.
That was the first.
That was the first thing. And then guess what? They got their wish, but when they got more inventory and things settled down, guess what? Prices went up because of interest rates, and that's what caused that. So I guess it's one of those be careful what you wish for scenarios. You don't have to compete and overbid $50,000 over anymore, but you are going to pay, $200,000-$300,000 more in interest over the life of the loan. So you choose your poison, right? So let's talk about what happened in 2024. And first off, why 2024 even matters. Because we have a lot of talking heads, and they're like, oh, this data changed, so let's look at what's going to happen. Well, we've had 3 interest rate declines from the Fed.
We also had a lot of data that was revised significantly.
Oh, and yes.
All the time.
And
it seemed like every month we had something large going on.
We did. Whether that be jobs or unemployment, it's always something being revised. And because of that, I want to take a look back at 21 through 24, right? We're going to look at what is the pattern of what's happening, where are these numbers, what's the percentage change year over year, so that we can predict where we are. Well, I'm not going to say, oh, the Fed decreased rates and mortgage rates dropped, because they didn't. They did in September. We got a little bit of a dip with the first 50-point cut. But then in the subsequent 2 25-point cuts, it was already priced into the market. And interest rates didn't come down on mortgages because of risk. There's a lot of risk that is happening in the market right now, and we can expect rates to not come down because of that.
You're talking about residential, not commercial.
I'm talking about, well, rates are tied to both.
Right, but commercial's a different beast.
It is. But what we're primarily talking residential. Happy to talk commercial because we're going through that process right now as well with higher interest rates. But from 21 to early 22, we saw a market that can only be described as hot, right? Sometimes sizzling. The rates dropped down to 0. Everybody flocked to buy, overbid. By the end of 22 and into 23, that's when we saw this shift. So rising interest rates, a broader economic uncertainties, our inflation. This led to fewer bidding wars, softening in price, softening in closed sales volume. Sellers, meanwhile, had to adjust because price reductions became more common. And as always, take this with a grain of salt. Not every community is like this. You have pockets where you're still bidding $20,000 over. You have pockets where you can't give your house away. But so we're talking median numbers. This is across the board. Fast forward to 24, and the market stabilized in many ways. Right? It's not the frantic atmosphere we saw in 21. It's not the steep cool down that some braced for in 23 that we did go through. Instead, 24 has shown gradual growth. In closed sales dollar volume, it saw a moderate uptick in inventories. In some areas, we saw a substantial uptick in inventories. And home prices that have largely held steady. Some areas have declined a little bit. Some have maintained themselves. So this year, in other words, it was more of a balancing act in 2024. Not as hectic as the best of 21, but also not as stalled as later in 22 and into 23.
And there hasn't been a crash. That's what the Chicken Littles have been saying for about 4 years now.
Here's the thing. You don't listen to the people who say, I'm waiting for a crash. Just as you don't listen to the people who say, I'm waiting for inventory to increase, or I'm waiting for rates to drop. Because what happens is when you wait, you miss the opportunities. You just always look. And when you find a good opportunity, you take it.
As long as it makes sense financially every month.
It wouldn't be a good opportunity if it didn't.
Exactly. That's what I mean.
Exactly.
I'm reinforcing what you said.
I love it. So let's talk about the big picture for 2024 in focus, right? So the FMLS, as we go through this, I'm going to talk about 3 areas. We're going to talk about FMLS as a multiple listing service and their entire territory. So this is basically Metro Atlanta. It's Fulton County, every county that touches Fulton County, and sometimes counties outside of those counties that touch those counties. But outside of that, that's about as far as it goes. You will see sales in FMLS from Savannah all the way up to, the border town with Chattanooga, but those are outliers. We're all sticking to the median numbers here just to offset those. So in the median sales price, the FMLS region kicked off 2024 with a median sales price of $385,000 in January, and by December, that figure stood at roughly $403,000. So that translates to between a 4 and a 5% gain over the course of the year. Compared that to the meteoric rises in 2021, where we had double-digit annual growth, a 4 to 5% annual appreciation seems modest, but this is actually historically normal. Which is great. Love to see that. On the closed sales side, one of the best indicators of how busy the market feels. In January, we saw 4,057 homes sold in the FMLS area, and that figure rose to 5,106 by December. This is roughly a 26% jump year over year, so that's a fantastic number. And then the early part of 2023 was sluggish. So the steady rise through 24 points to renewed buyer confidence, and this can be attributed to several factors. One, impatience. People who were waiting just got tired of waiting and they didn't want life to pass them by. 2, life events. People always are getting married, divorced, people are born, people are dying. So people are also relocated with work. So you always have those life factors that force the relocation and transactions in real estate. But with a 26% jump is pretty sizable year over year. So 24, not as frenzied as 21, but certainly more stable. Now, in January of 24, the FMLS market reported about 2.5 months of inventory. We call it month supply, which means if we stopped putting homes on the market today, how long would it take us to sell all of them? And that's month supply. So we started 2024 with a 2.5 month supply. And ended 2024 with a 3.5 month supply. That's an approximate 40% increase. And 3 month supply is where we kind of consider that a buyer's or a balanced market. In some areas, you're going to have really seller-dominated communities. In some areas, you're going to have really buyer-dominated communities. Depends on demand, but that's kind of the balance. Under 3 months, we're looking at a seller's market. Over 3 months, we're looking at a buyer's market. Month supply can be good news for buyers. It typically reduces bidding wars. However, we're still below the 5 to 6 months of supply that analysts consider a balanced market. I don't consider that a balanced market. You get 5 to 6 months supply, and you're going to have a hard time selling your home. Now, days on market. Buyers can also gauge competitiveness by tracking how quickly listings move. So in January of 24, homes in the FMLS area spent a median of 28 days on the market. By December, it was 31 days. This is an increase of about 3 days. These are both winter month markets, so they're both kind of comparable. I wouldn't expect that to be as long in the spring or summer. but an increase of about 3 days may seem small, but it confirms 2024's modest tempo. We didn't see anything crazy happening. Much more subdued, much more balanced. Now compare that to 2021 when some homes were snatched up in under a week. Today's median of about a month is much more normal in pace historically. Now this gives buyers and sellers more time to think, negotiate, and make deals happen. Another sign of 2024 rebound is the total dollar volume, which rose from 1.836 billion in January to 2.522 billion by December. This is about a 37% jump, and that's significant because it shows that not only are more sales happening, but they're also adding up to a larger slice of the market's overall transactional value. In summary here, 2024, the FMLS area felt balanced, prices inched upward, sales volumes rose, inventory levels expanded, trends that weren't as dramatic in 2021 and much healthier than the dips that we saw in 22 to 23. So overall, I think 2024 was a much more stable market. We saw mortgage rates were higher but stable. They're not all over the place. We saw inflation starting to come under control. We saw consumer confidence increasing. And we saw people getting tired of waiting.
So these are numbers. What is street smarts, right? What have you gathered from everyone you've talked to, just regular non-industry people? What's your take on what they're thinking overall?
As far as our clientele, they just need homes, and we're helping them find homes. I don't think anybody is...
So what I'm talking about is, if we're driving down the street, I see a lot of new construction, but definitely not to where it was...
Oh, yeah. New construction slow.
Kind of thing. Like, you can still tell that they're moving, but they're not. I'm talking about what we're seeing in the community in East Cobb. So, yes, they're doing construction, but is it like before? No, not at all. I mean, do you remember the kind of construction that happened with the global financial crisis?
Oh,
that was
yeah.
a ton. Everywhere you looked, everyone was constructing.
Things have slowed down on pretty much across the board in real estate. I think we're actually pretty stable. We're going to need more construction. Here's what happens all the time when you get a slowdown. In a slowdown in real estate, you've got builders that pull back.
Mm-hmm. And they have to sometimes, too. They have no choice.
They have to. People can't afford it.
There's no funding for it.
But we're still underhoused as a nation. So we have a shortage. I don't know where the numbers stand today. Last time I looked at the numbers, I think our shortage was like 4 million housing units nationwide. And in an ideal scenario, we'd have those and be, everybody would have a house. But we know that that's not how it works. In the last recession, builders stopped building. They started buying land. They would land bank and wait, but then by the time they weren't building when the need was there. So there's always going to be a mismatch in timing. So if we get some good news and interest rates drop, buyers will come back into the market. Builders will not have homes for them when they're ready to buy.
So today, I'm still seeing new subdivisions being built. Mm-hmm. And it might take a little bit to sell out, but they are still selling out.
They are, yeah.
Before, we would have them go to auction because they wouldn't sell.
Oh, yeah. We're not seeing foreclosures.
No. So I'm sorry?
What we are seeing with new construction and the builders is that the ones who are really being successful today are builders who have leveraged their own companies or their relationships to offer better than market pricing on mortgages through their own vendors. So Meritage Homes is a great example of this. Meritage Homes, they had a program where they were doing a permanent buy down on the interest rate for the buyer. I don't know if that's still going on, but there are several builders that are doing this. When you use their affiliated lender, they're contributing enough to buy that rate down to where it's more competitive than outside of the market.
And we didn't see that in the last recession at all. I mean, people were just, you have to foreclose, you have to short sale. I mean, you're SOL, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, the balance there is you get a better rate, but you're buying a new construction home and it's maybe at a higher purchase price. So, I mean, you're looking at the payment is what you want to look at. And you always want that payment to be a blessing, not a burden.
I do feel as though people are getting over their fear of entering into a mortgage post-pandemic.
Oh, yeah.
Before, it was so common to have 2s and 3s interest rates, and people got really used to that. They thought that was the new norm, and that's where they wanted to go back, because of course, if you get 50% discount on something, you're going to want that again, right?
Yeah.
Every time you go to the store, you're going to look at that item being like, it's not worth that. I remember when it was 50% off. They don't think it's worth that, blah, 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 right? And it goes through your mind. I really think that's what happened with houses, because they forgot that they had to bid 50,000 over. They had to bid 20,000 over. They just said, oh, well, it was for this price, or it sold for this price, and they got a mortgage rate of that. Well, don't forget, there were 10 people bidding for that same house.
Yeah.
That doesn't show on paper, right? But I feel like the conversations that I'm having, more and more people are saying, okay, I've waited enough. I think I want to start looking now. I have a plan to start looking. Now, is it being done? Not yet. But I'm hearing more and more talk about I'm ready, or I'm getting ready to do it. Not I'm waiting anymore. So I think the conversation is changing a little bit.
I think it is.
Yeah.
We're definitely seeing more people get used to living in the higher interest rate environment. There's always a shock factor when changes happen financially.
Well, that quickly too.
It was very fast, and it was nationwide. So it's not like this just happened to a few or a segment of the population. This happened to everybody. And I think we've been in this long enough that this is the new normal. For those who listen to realtors who said, date the rate, marry the house, I think you probably got bad advice. We're going to be sticking with interest rates above 5%, above 6%, I think, for a longer term than what anybody else had kind of hoped for. Unless
you're okay with that rate.
Well,
good for you.
What happened, what we thought was going to happen did happen. Okay.
Sure.
Interest rates went up and then they came down. Did they come down as much as we had hoped for? Absolutely not. Interest rates were approaching 9% at one point in mid 23, if I remember right.
Well, you and I both knew that they would never go back down to 2s and 3s
again.
Oh
yeah, that was the last time we're seeing a zero federal funds rate for.
But we're in this industry, so we knew.
Yeah.
A lot of people thought that they were going to go right back to where they were.
Well, I'll give a caveat to that.
Yeah?
We knew because we have a background in this stuff, right?
That's what I meant.
Yeah. There's plenty of realtors and there's plenty of real estate agents out there that didn't know. And they just listened to every other talking head saying, date the rate, marry the house, and they didn't think things through it and give good advice. Hopefully none of my agents, but that's why in 22 when we sat on that panel, I was on a panel once and I sat next to an agent who was a luxury agent in Buckhead, super popular.
I remember that.
And she goes, you date the rate, marry the house. I said, no, you don't.
You were adamant about that.
In a room full of 200 professionals, I said, absolutely, that's the worst advice you can ever give a client. Do not tell them or give them anything that can give them hope that something's going to happen. That's not your job.
That's gambling.
It's gambling.
Yeah.
Real estate is a very low volatile investment historically. Are there times of volatility? Absolutely. We saw that in 2008 to 2012. But are we seeing that today? No. We saw a period where there's a little blip. And over the past 80 years, we don't have the official numbers yet for the last couple of years, I think. But over the last 80 years, up until 2020, there had only been 7 years of negative or zero growth in real estate.
If you don't date the rate, how many years out do you plan for? Do you plan for the end of payoff? Like you
plan
personally?
Perpetually. Yeah, I'm planning. Am I buying this today as a good financial decision?
When you say date the rate, they're thinking only 1 year out, 2 years out.
I'm thinking, I'm buying this. This is 6.5%. Is this worth my money at 6.5%?
But as a former financial advisor, that makes sense.
That's
how you calculate things, right? I mean, indefinitely.
I always look for my exit before I make an entrance. So, like when we bought our first house in 2008, we put it under contract in May. Over the summer, the crash happened. We closed on it in July, post-crash. That house, back then a little townhouse, went from $110,000 purchase price to a value of about $35,000. Now, if I had not planned our exit, that could have been a bad situation for us. But we bought that with the intent of renting it. So when we purchased it, we made sure that it was a rentable property. There were no covenants that were going to restrict us from that. And thank God we did, because we rented it. It ended up costing us like $100 a month at first, and over a couple of years through the recession, I think it ended up finally breaking even. But we kept the property, and the tenants were paying the mortgage for us, at least most of it. Look, as a real estate investor, if I've got to put $1,000 or $5,000 a year towards a property, I'm going to look at that and treat it like it's my Roth IRA. I'm going to put that into it and say, you know what, that's my investment to my retirement this year. Because by doing so, we had the mentality that there was cash to go into it. A tenant covered most of the expense. We carried it through the recession. And a few years ago, that became the property that we 1031'd to get our Airbnb duplex in Alaska. And that's
how I teach our kids that concept of buying a house and using it for investment. I call it their greenhouse for their money garden. And it truly is a house for their garden. And it grows.
The book From the Ground Up, How Two Millennial High School Sweethearts Created a Multi-Million-Dollar Real Estate Investment Portfolio from Scratch, and you can too, is available on Amazon, anywhere you get your books online, and Audible. Yep. And it's not us reading it. So if you want to listen to the Audible, we got a great pro on there. He did a great job.
He has a great voice.
Yep. Quickly, I do want to talk about the differences between Cobb and Cherokee County. Actually, you know what? Let's not go into that. This entire article, it's like a 8,000-word article.
Okay.
It covers what happened in 2024 for FMLS, Cobb County, and Cherokee County. If you want this, go to selectrealty.com. It's one of our most recent articles, and we will put a link to the article in the show notes.
So Cobb County, if you are not familiar, we have East Cobb, Ackworth, Kennesaw, Marietta, Vinings, Austell, Mableton. Those are really the main ones. Cherokee County, you have Woodstock, you have
parts of Ackworth, Ball Ground, Holly Springs, Canton,
Woodstock.
Yep. Part of Waleska.
Mm-hmm. Holly Springs. Did we say that?
Yeah, I said Holly Springs.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm thinking of going up the highway. What do I pass? Town Lake?
Maybe U Harley. I'm not sure if that's Bartow. Right? Yeah, Town Lake is Woodstock.
Town Lake area. That's big. It's not.
I will say that Cherokee County had a very surprising increase.
That's surprising? What do you mean?
Compared to Cobb, Cherokee County's numbers were substantial.
I felt it, Chris. Yeah. You know how much more construction there is out there? There's more land.
It is.
Cobb County's packed.
Urban sprawl.
Yes. No, it seems
all these
like
new downtown areas.
If this were a brush fire, the fire line is in Woodstock. Mm-hmm. It's in Cherokee County. It's past Cobb because Cobb is saturated now.
It really is.
It is.
Although we do have a lot of great development that's happening in Cobb County.
Right, but we're shifting towards, buying it, rehabbing it,
building
breaking it down, building it up. they're breaking new ground,
They are.
right? So it's a little bit of a different
Vibe.
but yeah, they're definitely growing, and you can feel it.
You can.
Yeah.
So just to recap, so we had a great holiday. We're glad to be back behind the mics. You can catch us every Tuesday. We'll be doing a recording here. Let's see.
Your favorite present is a shirt that I got you?
Oh my gosh. Two things. One, this hat. This is an awesome waxed canvas hat from Orvis. And then maybe on the next recording I'll wear it. It's too cold today. But Céline got me a nice Orvis shirt that's has a repeating print of German short-haired pointers because I have a really stupid dog called Archer, and Archer is a German short-haired pointer that never went to university. He's stupid and very smart.
Your handmade mug with a pointer is also going to be here soon. It was just backward.
I can't wait for that.
My favorite is a mattress.
The mattress. Yeah, we're still getting a great night's sleep. It's so weird.
It took a while, but I'm not waking up with a bad back anymore, so yay.
Every day we're getting a little better at adulting.
I don't think I'll ever master it.
Nah. Well, we hope you're enjoying the podcast. If you get a chance, please leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Or
5 stars. If you have one, go away.
Yeah. Well. And if you can, do us a favor, like and subscribe on YouTube. Make sure you're catching us online if you want to watch it. We'd love to be in front of you every week. So, I'm Chris Evans.
I've had a great time. I'm Céline Evans.
Thanks for watching Georgia Living.
Bye.